Hey guys, good morning. Sorry I can't be with you today. I don't know if your sub told you or I told some people in your classes when I saw them yesterday that I'm having surgery today. I will probably be out most of the week, or well, obviously the rest of this week and most of next week. So not something I'm looking forward to, but something that should go pretty well for me. It's a relatively easy procedure, but it just needed to be done. So that's why I'm not with you guys and why I'm not going to be there next week. So my goal for today is to get you guys through everything you're going to need for the next 3 days worth of class. Okay, because we're going to get started on our research paper. You already should have brainstormed. I wrote on the whiteboard about how to brainstorm and what we're going to talk about. So the goal of your paper is to be persuasive. Okay, so it's not just a research paper where you're going to tell me all about Michael Jackson. Okay, that might be interesting and you might be able to persuade me that he's crazy, but the sources that you find for that, not valid. Crazy people on a rant on a blog, not a valid source. Okay, gossip magazine's not going to work out. So Michael Jackson is not going to be a good topic unless you decide to tell me that Michael Jackson's music was so changing for the world of music that without him, we wouldn't have hip-hop, we wouldn't have modern pop music, we wouldn't have whatever. So you're going to need to be able to make a claim and back it up with factual, research-based information. Okay? So when we're thinking about our topics, I want you to think about what are you convincing me of? Okay, so on the board, I wrote the example that I think it says the music industry was forever changed by online piracy. Okay, so obviously how has that changed the industry? So you're going to make a claim that that changed it for the better or that changed it for the worse or whatever. So you're going to nail that down for me and use research to back it up. And there should be lots of research on that topic and it would be kind of interesting to do. So that is one option for you. Another option for you, I put option 2 on the board, talks about stem cell research, right? Is it ethical? Okay, so that's the question there, and you're going to persuade me one way or the other, is it ethical or not? Okay, so you can take almost anything and make it an ethical issue. You need to keep in mind that everyone in this class needs to have a different topic. Okay, I'm not going to read 15 papers on medical marijuana. Okay, ridiculous, not happening, so get over it now. One of you can choose that topic. It is relevant, it is debatable, but only one group is going to do it. Okay? Hold all of your questions, obviously, till the end because I can't answer them right now. But we'll talk more about partners and more about how all of that's going to work a little bit later. I have 2 slideshows that I need to get through for you. So, back to the topic at hand. When we're talking about persuasive research, most of the time it's going to be an ethical question. Okay, so you're going to need to think that through, and what is that ethical question going to look like? Gosh, you could do pretty much anything, and we'll talk more about how you present to me what your topic is going to be a little bit later in the slideshow. Okay, so research procedures, that's where we're going to start. Okay, so the quote says, Adam was the only man who, when he said a good thing, knew that nobody else had said it before him. Okay? Are we getting this? Does it make sense? Who is Adam? Adam and Eve, go with it, okay? So obviously, he is the only person that can ever think anything he ever said is original unless he stole it from God, okay? Which, that would be weird. So hopefully he didn't. Okay, so the point here is, obviously, your material isn't going to be new. So you have to quote it, all right? See here? Mark Twain said this, all right? So you're going to have to mark down who said what you're talking about, okay? If it's not your thought, and that's okay, quote it or paraphrase it. You have to cite it, and we're going to talk about how to do that. By the way, welcome to my basement. In case you're curious, the TV's over there, the laundry room's over there, my dog's down here on the floor, and my husband's back there running the video camera. Mail's asleep upstairs. So as long as she stays asleep, we're going to be good. So welcome to the basement. I should have said that a while ago. All right, moving on. By the way, my husband thought that was weird that I explained to you the layout of the basement, but you know, this is how we roll. Okay, so using quoted material, we need to keep it well, it can be as few words as you want it to be, or it can be as many words as you want it to be. However, you need to keep it effective. Don't just quote stuff to fill your word requirement, okay? I'm going to know when you're doing that. So we're quoting stuff to make a point, to add validity to your statement. So the shorter you can keep it, the better, okay? Now, direct quotes. They obviously are a direct quote, okay? So you use the quotes, and you have to have it exactly the same as it said in the paper, okay? So if the paper said, he ain't gonna do nothing, and you need to quote that, well, first of all, that's maybe not a very good source. But anyway, if that's what it said, he ain't gonna do nothing, you're gonna have to write it exactly the same. Use the same horrible grammar as he ain't gonna do nothing when you quote it, okay? Exactly the same. Capitalization, punctuation, and spelling all need to be the same, okay? I feel like that we should know that already, but you'd be shocked at the number of people that do it wrong, okay? So if you need to make a change in a quote, which is possible if the quote has a capital letter where you don't need it, or if the verb tense doesn't necessarily work for you in your sentence, you put it in a bracket, okay? So like it says here in the hey, you're going to put it in a bracket, and that's how you're going to make the change. The only thing you can change is the one thing you need to change, and it must be inside the bracket, okay? If you need an explanation, then you're going to use the parentheses to make that happen. Okay, so well, let's talk about the quote that was on the front page. It said Adam was the only one who was sure that his thoughts were original. If the quote said he was the only one who thought his words were original, you wouldn't understand who I'm talking about. So in parentheses, I would put Adam. He, parentheses Adam, was the only one who was ever sure that his thoughts and words were original, okay? So parentheses for explanation, brackets for changing. You shouldn't have to use these very often. Most of the time your quotes need to be pretty self-explanatory. By the way, failed to mention this at the beginning, you should be taking notes, okay? Because I'm obviously not going to be there for the next 3 days to reiterate this information. So take notes, please. I think on this page the main thing you need to write down is changes, use brackets, explanations, use parentheses, okay? So that's pretty simple for us. Good deal? Give you a second to jot it down. Okay, we're gonna move on. All right, in-text citations. There's a couple of things I need you to know that I didn't put on the slide. Thing one, you must write this down, okay? Every time you introduce me to a new author in your research paper, you need to be able to give me their credentials. Okay, by credentials, what do I mean? I mean, I need to know why they are someone whose opinion is more important than yours. Okay, so it just can't be Joe Schmo who wrote this random article on the internet. But I need to know why Joe Schmo is, I need to know that he's a doctor, and I need to know, you know, if we're talking about Randy Pausch, for example, this will be a better example for you. If we're talking about Randy Pausch and you're doing an article on virtual reality, then you're going to need to tell me that Randy Pausch has a doctorate in computer science and virtual technology from Carnegie Mellon University and has been a professor for 15 years in that department. That gives him credibility, okay? So when you're first using an author, you need to tell me that information. You only have to do it the first time, but that's going to be important information. Otherwise, I'm going to wonder, why does this person care and why are we quoting them, okay? Then, after you do that, in the first sentence that you're using that information, Randy Pausch, Doctorate of Computer Science and Virtual Technology from the University of Carnegie Mellon, states that virtual reality, blah, blah, blah. I have no idea. Virtual reality and I are not friends, so I don't have a good piece of information to stick in there, but that's how you would do that. And then the next time you say his name, all you need to do is say Pausch, okay? So you would say Pausch said, and then give me the direct quote. Or you can say Pausch suggests and give me a summary or a paraphrase of that, okay? So the first time, credentials. Second time, you can just mention his name. Or even, since I know who you're already talking about, all you have to do is put your quote, and then you can put the author's name in parentheses with the page number. Okay, so your citations are going to look one of two ways. If you mention the author's name in your sentence, you just need the page number in parentheses. So it'll go quotes, parentheses, page number, close parentheses, period. Every time it will look like this, okay? Every single time. If you are not using the author's name in your sentence, it'll be quotes, parentheses, last name, no comma, page number, close parentheses, period. Every single time, that's the way it's going to look, one of these two ways, okay? If it's not a direct quote, it's going to look like one of these two on the bottom. So you're paraphrasing. Suggest that you should always ask questions and that you might be surprised with the answer, okay? So I'm paraphrasing, obviously, the above quote. So you just put what page you took that from, or the same manner over here if you didn't mention the author's name in the sentence, okay? So we understand these two rules. Credentials the first time. After that, you always put the information at the end using parentheses. Okay, this is not optional. You will be required to do this in your paper at least 15 times. Okay, before you freak out about that, that is good information. More citations means what? Any guesses? Good, I hope someone said that that's information that you don't have to come up with, right? That's information and sentences that somebody else already came up with. So that's paper space being filled up without you having to think too hard about it. Okay, so citations are a good thing for you. Okay, so short quotes, working them into your paragraph. This is how you do it. So I wrote you a little paragraph here about the last lecture and what Randy Pausch has to say. So I used my first quote. I told you a little bit about what the last lecture is. And then I says he begins by discussing his engineering problem. Engineering problem is in quotes because that was his exact terminology for what he called his situation, the cancer situation that he was in. Okay, so engineering problem, quote, parenthesis, page number, parenthesis, period. I used it right in the middle of my own sentence and then kept on trucking. Okay, throughout the book, he challenges his readers to achieve their childhood dreams. Then here's my quote. Whatever accomplishments, all of the things I loved were rooted in dreams and goals I had as a child. Ellipsis. Okay, so I'm breaking up a paragraph here. I didn't need all of that information in between, so that's why I used my ellipsis, the 3 periods, okay? My lecture might help others find the path to fulfilling their own dreams. Quotes, parentheses, page number, parentheses, period, okay? Every single time. I know this is repetitive, but you need to understand this, okay? So that's how we're going to do a short quote. Quotes should support what you're already saying. It shouldn't be a break in thought. Okay, so you need to be able to work them in seamlessly and continue flowing with the rest of your paper, right? I would reference something about a rap and flow here, but really don't have anything to go off since I really don't listen to rap, but something like that would sound good here. So think about that analogy on your own and then we'll rock and roll, okay? Which is kind of funny since I was talking about rap. But back to the point. Long quotes. Here's the rule for long quotes. Any quote that is going to be more than 4 complete lines of your paper, you must 2-tab, indent the whole thing. All right, so this is about an inch indentation in your paper. All right, the whole quote. So this is right in the middle of my paragraph. The whole thing is tabbed over, and then the rest of my paragraph starts back at the left-hand margin. Don't indent here if you're continuing your previous paragraph. Okay? The difference here is going to be that this does not need quotes around it, because the fact that it's indented like this indicates that it is already a quote. Okay? So 4 complete lines of text long or more, and we offset our quote like this. We still do the same. We call this parenthetical documentation, by the way. Whatever. Just put your page number in parentheses, okay? So we still do the same thing for that. All right. Deep breath. Okay, moving on. I'm going to go over this with you just briefly, and then I'm going to take a break, and you guys are going to make some of these works cited entries on your own. Okay, so in the Writer's Ink book, it's the black one. You should have some under your desk. If you don't already have it under your desk, I know there's like 5 or 6 more at least on the shelf. I have 30 of them, so it'll be tight, but everybody should get one, okay? Page 265. has an author, book with one author. It's the first entry on page 265. Okay? Alright, so what I want you to do is use this information that I gave you here. I found a real book in the library. They do still make them. You're going to be required to use a book, like a real book that you got off a shelf in a library, as part of your report, okay? So, you're going to need to know how to do this. Alright. This is all the information, the minimum information you should gather from every source that you're using. Okay, so if you are going to use, you know, a blog or a magazine article, any of that, you need to have at minimum this information, okay? Every time you start a new source, before you even read it, write this stuff down, okay? So we have the title, the publisher, the date, the publishing city, and the author. So as you can see in the Writer's Ink book there on page 265, the first entry says, book with one author. So in your notes there, I want you to create a works cited just like this one. Okay? Just like the one in your book, but I want you to do it using this information. So you're going to do, you can see in the book there, you put the author first. You start with their last name. So we're going to go Gusfield, comma, Joseph R., period. Alright? Then we do the title. You can abbreviate this, that's totally fine. You can just put the culture of public problems, whatever. Alright, and so since it's the title and we're handwriting it, we're going to underline it. When you're doing this on the computer, you're going to italicize it. Okay? Underline equals italicize when we're on the computer. Alright, so author, last name first, title, underline or italicize, then a period. Then you're going to put the publishing city. In this case, it's Chicago. In the book, you can see it's New York. Okay, so you put Chicago, colon, right? Colon is the one with 2 dots. Do not do a dot and a comma, not a colon. Colons have 2 dots. Shockingly, it looks like this. Okay? All right, Chicago, colon, and then you're going to put the name of the publisher. In this case, University of Chicago Press. Okay? And then we're going to put comma, 1984, the year of publication. When we're doing a text, an actual book, you just need the year of publication because once it's printed, it's done. Okay? And then we're going to put period after the year, and then you're going to write the word print. Alright? That way your person reading your works cited page knows you actually had this, like a hard copy of this book. Okay? Alright, so hopefully you got that down as we went. I know it was kind of fast. But I'm going to go ahead and slip to the next one here. And it's a website article. Okay, on page 273 in the Writer's Ink book, it's going to talk to you about how to do a website article. It's the second one on the list on page 273. Okay, it says the electronic sources, go down to the second one. This is all the information you need to make that entry. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the video. Video pauser, please pause the video, and I'm going to give you guys a chance to work this one out on your own, following the example that's in your book. Okay? I'll give you about 5 minutes to do that. Alright, welcome back. It's been hopefully about 5 minutes. If this is your second video because I couldn't figure out how to splice them together, my bad. Shouldn't have actually paused it. Okay? So hopefully you figured out how to make this works cited entry. Okay? So we're going to start with the editor. In this case, most websites have an editor or a publisher or a group of authors. So you just need to choose the editor. Okay? So Sosa, comma, Maria. And then we do the article title. Okay? Article titles we put in quotes. Okay? That's how we know it's the article title and not the name of the website. So we do article in quotes, website name, and underline in this case, or italicize if we're typing, right? And then, let's see, and then we do then we do the date of publication. In this case, all we know is 2010. Okay, and then we do the publisher, and then we do the date we accessed it. So I I can't say that word tonight. Accessed it on Wednesday, so you would say 5 March 14. Okay, and then at the end of your citation, the rules have changed. I know the book says that you need to write out the entirely long, ridiculously complicated website link. That is not true. You don't have to do that anymore. You just need to put web at the end. W-E-B, period. Okay? And so then you have your works cited entries. Remember that if you fall onto the second line in your works cited entries, the second line needs to be indented. Okay? So I'll put up a sample works cited page on the Fusion page for you guys to check out should you have questions on how to do this. Okay? So I hope you're good with this. We also have a blog entry. I'm not going to make you practice this one. I just want you to understand that a blog entry can be a valid source of information. However, there are two things, two pieces of information that we know here that make this a valid blog entry and not just some random crazy person who's super irritated about something and just going on a rant about who knows what, okay? Anger does not equal authority, okay? Anger equals crazy person in a public forum with the space to do it, okay? So, two things make this person a reputable source. Thing one, we're talking about cracking down on drinking and driving, all right? And the effects of that on the body. That's what this article was about. So we know that this guy's a medical doctor. Obviously, he's going to have some knowledge on how drinking affects the body. Second thing that we know, the New York Times, okay? So the New York Times is the publisher of this, so we know that it's a reputable source because we trust that the New York Times is factually accurate, okay? All right, so I flipped to the next slide a little bit early, but this is what you're going to be working on Monday, okay? Or Tuesday. I have you guys on Tuesday. So we're going to be in the library next week, both days, Tuesday and Thursday, since we don't have school Friday. All right, so you're going to be in the lab and you're going to be working on Tuesday with your partner. On Thursday, you'll be working by yourself. And this is your goal for Tuesday, is to complete a letter of intent, okay? Your letter of intent needs to answer these three things. It needs to summarize what your research is, so you need to be able to tell me tangibly by the end of the day on Thursday what your research thesis is, what your current hypothesis is, okay? So if you're doing stem cell research and whether or not it is an ethical choice, then you're going to need to put here in your letter of intent, so-and-so and I are going to be researching the effects and, researching the effects of stem cell research on cancer therapy, and then we're going to tell you, and then you're going to tell me whether or not you think that it is the right thing to do, okay? And then you're going to go ahead and tell me how you plan to research, what types of research you will do, and then tell me who is going to be researching with you. So you must cover those three things. If you want to take a picture of this slide, that's totally cool. Go ahead and do that now, or you can find this information. I'm going to post this whole PowerPoint up on the Fusion page so you can come back to it, okay? But you must do these three things. It must look like a letter, okay? You're just not writing me a paragraph and dropping it on the Fusion page, all right? You're going to make it look like a letter. So in the top, you're going to have your address, or you can just put the school's address. So you can put Lindsay Frazier, Wichita Heights High School, 5301 North Hillside, Wichita, Kansas, 67209. Okay, so you're going to put that in the upper corner. Then you're going to put the date. Then you're going to put to Mrs. Frazier, followed by your letters, sincerely, so-and-so and so-and-so. All right, so it's going to actually have to look like a letter. I want you guys to do this together. So by this point, you should understand what your topic is going to be and how you're going to research and how you're going to divide it between the two of you. Okay? Now, other classes. The classes on Thursday asked me, why do we have to do this? Why can't we just tell you what topic we're going to do? Here's why. In college, when you're asked to do a research paper, and I've had to do this, I had to submit a letter of intent letting my professor know what I was going to be researching. Okay? And this is how they wanted it done. So I want you to practice doing it. All right? This is a college prep course. Obviously, our goal is to be prepared for college, hence college prep. Okay? So everything I'm going to ask you to do in this research paper, I have had to do in a college course myself. Okay? And when I got to college, I didn't know how to do some of these things, and I totally freaked out. All right? So hopefully, we won't be freaking out. Keely told me in first hour yesterday that she's in a college psych class right now doing the over at Butler or something, and her professor said, you need to know how to do this. I need you to make this I need you to make a letter of intent. I need you to do an annotated bibliography. And she doesn't know what that is yet because we haven't done it. But she really is being asked to do it. So we do have a purpose behind everything I'm asking you to do for this, okay? So that's the letter of intent. By the end of class on Monday, you will submit one letter of intent per couple, okay, onto the Fusion page. All right, it's already there and put in where you can submit it, okay? Clear? Good. Moving on. An annotated bibliography. This is what you're going to be working on Wednesday, okay? An annotated bibliography is not as hard as it sounds. Big fancy words, not a big deal, okay? So, bibliography means list of sources. Annotated means summary or evaluation. So, you're going to be providing a summary and evaluation of a source, okay? So, not as hard as it may sound. All right, so you should be able to answer these 4 questions in your annotated bibliography. All right, so it's going to look just like a regular works cited page would be. Okay, so top left-hand corner, we're going to put MLA format heading. So it'll say Lindsay Frazier, Mrs. Frazier's class, college prep with your hour, and then the date that you're doing this. Skip a line, the next one the whole thing should be double spaced. Then you skip a line, annotated bibliography, and then you put the citation, okay? So like we talked about a few slides ago, you're going to make a citation for this article that you found on the internet about your topic, okay? Then you're going to write me a paragraph about what is the main argument. In 2 or 3 sentences at the most, you're going to tell me what the claim is in the article that you're reading and how they support that. What, major pieces of research or major pieces of information are they using to support the claim that they're supporting in that article. Okay, 2 or 3 sentences at most for that answer. Okay, is it a useful source to your research? So I want to know, is this something you're going to be able to use or is it not? It's okay if it's not because we're evaluating it. That's part of the purpose of this, okay? Is this a reliable source? How do you know? Is this person do they have a PhD in this? Have they been researching it for the last 40 years? What makes this a valid piece of information? Okay? And then finally, has it changed how you think about your research? Okay, if it changes your mind, that's great. That's totally fine. I just want to know about it. All right, so I was doing a paper on Mark Twain in one of my master's class in English. And I read this source and I was working on my annotated bibliography and I realized that I no longer agreed with my original point of view, okay? He changed my mind. His article was so well written and so factually based and he had such good supporting information that I totally switched gears and changed my entire paper to align with this one article and found new research that goes with it, okay? So it's totally acceptable to do that. I just want you to tell me about it. We're looking at 5, 6 sentences here, maybe 7. By the time you're done with this, okay? So a summary of it, and then you need to evaluate it. Is it useful? Is it valid? And how has it changed your perspective? All right? So that's Wednesday. You're going to do that by yourself. You're going to find an article on the internet, just one, and you're going to turn one of these in, okay? Again, you're going to turn it in on the Fusion page. On the Fusion page, I will also put a sample of an annotated bibliography and I will put a sample of a letter of intent so you can go in there and look and see what they look like. If you need more examples, Google it, all right? There are like thousands of articles on about.com or WikiHow or eHow or answers.com, whatever, okay? All of those sites have examples of a letter of intent and of a annotated bibliography, so you can find that stuff there, okay? All right, so those are your goals for next week. All right, so I'm done with this PowerPoint. I'm going to flip over to the next one. Give me just a sec. Okay, sorry. Welcome back. New slide. New PowerPoint presentation. This one I'm talking to you guys specifically about your presentation and how we're going to choose topics. Okay? So, the way this is going to work, I've kind of revamped a little bit of how we're going to do this. Okay? So we're a little bit cramped on time, so the way this is going to work is you and your partner together are going to create one 8-page paper instead of you each having to do your own 8-page paper. Okay? So that means you are each responsible for half the content, so about 4 pages, okay? And when I say 8 pages, I'm not talking you're typing on the 8th page, I'm talking you're filling up the 8th page, and to finish, you might have to pop your last sentence or 2 over to the 9th page, okay? That's how you make 8 full pages. It is not like 7.5, okay? That doesn't count. 8 pages probably will spill over onto page 9 if you do it right, okay? So, to answer any questions about how you split it up, I would not recommend that one person does the introduction and then the next 4 pages, and then the other person does the next 4 pages and the conclusion. For, I guess, one obvious reason. If you do it that way, your introduction and your conclusion are likely not going to match. Okay? So you need to write those 2 parts together and then divvy out the middle and decide how you're going to do that. Okay? I want you also to be very careful when you're picking your partner. I'm going to let you choose on your own. However, I will say, and this is going to be hurtful perhaps, but I want you to understand that this project, after we're finished with it, is going to be worth about 500 points. Okay? So far, we have points possible in this class less than 200. Okay? We might have 200 right on the nose. Okay, so we have 200 points possible. This is going to be worth 500 points. You do the math. Okay? So we're talking, you don't pass this, you don't pass senior English. Okay? So as long as we're on the same page with that, when it comes to partners, I need you to understand, don't pick somebody because they're your buddy. Alright? You need to pick somebody who's going to have the same work ethic you do. Okay? That might be harsh and it might be hurtful, but your grade is going to be partially dependent on the amount of work that person does. Okay, so you need to understand, you need to be responsible and pick someone who's going to work at the same pace you are. Okay, sometimes that sucks, but we need to learn to work in groups, and we need to learn to be effective in that group, and I feel like this is the best way for you to do that. Okay? Good. Now, to talk about topics. Your topics need to not be exactly the same, but they're going to need to align. Okay, so here's an example. If you're talking about time-saving appliances, all right, so you could talk about time-saving appliances in the 1920s, and then your partner would talk about time-saving appliances in the 1900s, and between the 2 of them, you would figure out how to compare and contrast what that's going to look like, what the differences are between the 2. Okay, so time-saving appliances, 1920, possibly a typewriter. Time-saving appliances, 1990, computer, right? So there are 2 things that do a similar thing, but then we talk about how much more time is saved or not on that appliance, okay? So this would be a very boring topic, so this is just an example, all right? So insert information that you want to do. So if you want to talk about music, for example, and you decide that you want to do the impact of music on teenage culture, which would be a really interesting topic, okay? One of you in your group could do the influence of hip-hop and R&B music in 1990, for example, in the 1990s, okay? Then your other teammate, or your teammate, could do, could kind of research the influences of grunge and heavy metal rock in the 1990s. Okay, so what you have in common is the decade. And we're talking about influences. The difference in your topic is this part, okay? One person is doing grunge and heavy metal. The other person is doing hip-hop and R&B, okay? Or you could put a different spin on it, and you could say one person does the influence of hip-hop and R&B in the 1990s, and then the other person could do hip-hop and R&B in the 1960s. Okay, so you need to have like a year in common or the topic in common. Some factor needs to be in common so you're kind of comparing two different things. Okay? Does that make sense? I really hope it does. I don't really have another way to explain that. Okay, so if you have more questions about that, we can narrow it down specifically when I come back after spring break, okay? But hopefully that made sense. Another example, well, no, we're just gonna move on, okay? If you have specific questions about this and you're just freaking out about it, email me, okay? Go to the Fusion page, email Mrs. Frazier, and I'll be able to check them from home, okay? So if you're totally in a molt and having a panic attack, go ahead and email me and we'll figure it out before then. If not, we'll wait till you come back from spring break. But you need to have a relatively good idea of what you're gonna do. Okay, so the research paper specifications. These are all the things that are going to be required in your paper, okay, or in your research packet. All right, by the time we're done, this is kind of going to be a notebook of information. So you're going to need a research notebook, okay? So some sort of folder that you're going to keep all your stuff together, and you're going to turn the whole thing in this notebook, all right? When I get back, probably the first day when I get back, we're going to go over how to set up your research notebook and what researching looks like, okay? Then you're going to include your annotated bibliography, which you will already have done. We're going to have an outline, and you're going to put your citations in that outline, okay? An outline makes the easiest way to writing papers, all right? If you already have your citations in it with page numbers, it's going to just fly out when the time comes to type it out, okay? You're going to need a table of contents. You're going to need a title page, your letter of intent, which you've already done, so by the time I get back, we're going to already be able to check two things off this list, okay? You're going to need your works cited page and some sort of chart or table or graph of some of the information that you're collecting, okay? So you're going to have to include that information and create your own chart and somehow put that in your paper, okay? I moved that off there pretty quickly, but like I said, with the other PowerPoint, we'll also post this one on the Fusion page, so if you need to revisit that list, we can easily do that. But each of those pieces is going to be required to turn in, and each one of them is going to be graded individually, so there will be points assigned to each of those things. So please make sure that you're doing each item on that list, okay? Boom. Next topic, source requirements. You're going to each be required to have 8 sources at minimum. Any of these are acceptable: periodicals, professional journals, newspapers, interviews, books, authored websites. Remember, no Wikipedia, no Wiki anything, no about.com, no Yahoo Answers, etc. Any of those things that people can author and change, not valid sources. We've talked about how to use Wikipedia before. So if you go to Wikipedia to get maybe a general idea, remember we scroll all the way down to the bottom and you use the sources at the bottom to find your information, okay? It's a decent way to start. Finally, you need to have at least 15 citations in your paper. We talked earlier about the citations and how that actually helps your writing and kind of decreases your page requirement, okay? So you need 15 of those, and you must do them in the MLA format we talked about earlier with the parentheses at the end, okay? All right. Finally, presentation requirements. You will be required to do an oral presentation with your partner. These will be the last 3 days of class. That should be enough time to get everybody in. Okay, so a 10-minute presentation. You're going to submit them, probably submit them on the Fusion page. I need to make sure that we can do that. I haven't checked with Rebecca, but I'm pretty sure we can. So you're going to submit them on there. You will have a 10-minute requirement. You cannot go over 12, okay? If you have a group of 3, because there's an odd number of people, we'll talk about that if the situation arises. Alright, so you must use the projector in some way, shape, or form in your presentation. Doesn't mean you have to make a PowerPoint, it doesn't mean you have to make a Prezi, it just means you have to use some sort of electronic piece of information to display on the overhead, okay? So, if you're doing music, find a YouTube clip, right? I had lots of people do music last year various things about music, and none of them showed any clips of any performances. Okay, so we couldn't hear the music they were talking about or see the artist that they were talking about. So be doing that when you, be thinking about that when you're doing your paper. The the Writer's Ink book will tell you how to document and source a YouTube video or Google Images or a blog or any of those types of things where you're getting this information or the videos or pictures or whatever. All of that is you're going to be able to find in the Writer's Ink book. Okay, I need to make a sidebar and then we'll come back to this. At the top of your notes page, I want you to write these 3 words. Owl, like the animal, O-W-L. Purdue, like the University of Purdue. P-U-R-D-U-E. And then M-L-A. Okay, if you type those 3 words into the Google search bar, it's going to come up. The first item you'll see when you've Googled it is the Purdue Owl Writing Lab. Okay, they have the best guide to MLA format that I have ever seen. Okay, so if you have any questions at any point in time on how to make your works cited or do any of those entries, this website that I just gave you will be your best resource. Okay, now a lot of you are going to ask if you can use EasyBib or Son of Citation or something like that. I don't care. You absolutely can. However, I need you to know that a lot of times it's wrong. Okay? It doesn't collect all the necessary information, and it sets them up kind of weird sometimes. So you need to be able to use this Purdue website or the Writer's Ink book to confirm that it's correct when you're doing this. Okay? Alright, sidebar over. We're moving back to the presentation requirements. Your time should be divided equally between your 2 presenters. You will need to dress professionally. Okay? Do we understand what that means? That does not mean you show up to my class in a pair of khaki shorts and a t-shirt. Okay? That means, guys, you're going to come see me that day that your presentation is scheduled for. You're going to come see me in khaki slacks or black pants. I had some guys wear bow ties last year. I had some guys wear suit coats. They looked really sharp, okay? And their presentations were fantastic because I could tell it mattered to them. Okay? So if you don't have a pair of slacks, you're going to need to go talk to your dad, talk to your grandpa, talk to the guy next door, whatever it takes to get yourself some slacks. Okay, ladies, that means you're going to need to wear a dress or a skirt and a top or some sort of dress pants, whatever. Anything that I wear to school on a regular basis, anything that looks even remotely similar to most of that would be a great option for you, okay? It obviously needs to be within the dress code. Please do not go out and spend $150 million on some brand new outfit because Miss Fraser said you needed to be dressed professionally, okay? That's not what we're going for here. I just want you to look nice, okay? However, fellas, if you don't have a pair of slacks, go buy one. It's a good investment, all right? So you will dress professionally. You will lose points if you do not. All right, the other big deal here is this is not just going to be delivered to me and your classmates. There will be outside guests in the classroom each time we present, okay? Last year my dad came. I had a retired teacher friend from when I was in school. She came and graded them, okay? And so there will be many other people in the room, probably 4 or 5 other teachers or outside people who I've invited to come watch these presentations, okay? So the idea is this is the culmination of everything we've learned throughout this year, and you are presenting it to everyone, and so don't embarrass me, right? And don't embarrass yourself, okay? So this is something I need you guys to take seriously, this whole project, all right? So that's how that is gonna go. Whoops. I think there's one more. Yes. All right, students not prepared to present on an assigned date will receive a 50% reduction. Do you understand what that means? That means if you show up or don't show up on the day that you were signed up to go originally, the best you can get on your presentation is a 50%. Okay? So that's assuming you get every single point possible when you do the presentation. Okay, you get 50%. maximum. All right, so what does that mean? Clearly, it means get your stuff done. Okay, what have I been harping on all semester, over and over and over and over again with you guys? Not just you guys, but all my classes. Do your stuff. Turn it in. Stay on top of things. If you guys stay on top of what we're doing in here, this will not be overwhelming. Okay, but if you use your lab time to goof around, you're going to get behind and it's going to suck for you later. Okay? That's pretty frank and pretty blunt, but I need you to understand that's what it's going to happen. Okay? 500-point assignment. We have 200 points possible so far. Okay? Alright, so I think that might be it. Here are some suggested topic ideas if you still haven't come up with anything. I'll leave these up here for a few minutes. Oh, whoops. I accidentally didn't do that. I clicked one too many times. Alright, so these are some suggested topics. These are obviously very broad ideas of what your topic could be. So you're obviously not just going to choose college. Okay? That will be the most overwhelming and utterly unresearchable topic in the planet. Okay? So you're going to need to pick something more specific. What about college? Are you going to talk about college recruiting tactics? So those of you who are interested in sports, you could talk about the ethicalness of recruiting college athletes and giving them a car and whatever. Alright, so that would be a really interesting topic for some of you that are interested in athletics and college sports and want to tie this into something like that. Okay, so these are just some ideas, but you can use them if you want. I think that I have covered everything that you need to know for the next couple of days at least. This is way more information. This presentation part is more information than you're going to need to know for the next 3 days. Okay? So I will see you guys after spring break. Enjoy yourselves. Don't be stupid, right? Our goal is not to see you on the news unless you've done something outstandingly good, not outstandingly bad, right? So that's our goal. So I will see you guys in a couple of weeks. Remember, Monday, letter of intent due at the end of class with your partner. Turn in 1 letter of intent per 2 people, okay? Thursday, what's due? Annotated bibliography. You pick an article and you do your annotated bibliography and submit it online, okay? Major life-changing, altering questions? Email me, okay? All right, have a great Friday, guys, and hopefully things go pretty smoothly next week. Miss Johnston Sloan will be here for your sub. I will miss you guys. Trust me, I would rather be in class than at home recovering from surgery. If you still need to submit your senior memory books, get them in. I will be grading them from home. Remember, your entries are due before spring break is over, or before spring break starts. I can't take them after that, okay? I think that's it. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Bye.